Hello and welcome to my show with me, Gillian Gotzel. I'm very honoured today to have the CEO of Voice talking to me from the States, Salah Zalatimo. I'm practicing his name. Thank you very much for coming on the show. So
Thank you, Gillian. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So you were appointed CEO back in January of this year. And before I jump into what it's like to be the CEO of Voice, you have a very interesting career. So I was going through it on LinkedIn. I'm going, okay, Forbes, digital content manager and chief digital officer, but you also got restaurants and recipes and Chop It and Camerama. So you have tell me a little bit about the trajectory of your career.
Well, I spent my entire career largely in big media, or largely in media, but swinging really from big media to startups. I think at my core, I'm a builder, and I've done that either with fresh ventures from scratch, where I've built new businesses from the ground up, like Restaurant or Chop It, the recipe search engine I've done, or Camerama, the app that Forbes acquired. And I've also done it within larger organizations where largely it's taken the shape of rebuilding something that's already existed. Like at Forbes, we rebuilt their entire digital organization and their whole platform, and building new businesses. And so it's something that I really enjoy conceptualizing things and bringing them to life. And I also really enjoy taking something that exists and rethinking it and being able to rebuild it and unlocking new value that maybe was kind of hidden or untapped.
I can see now why you were selected. You're a builder, but you also like to reimagine stuff. So in Voice, I mean, like Dan Larimer, when he set it up, it's, we know that social media currently doesn't work. He talked about the misalignment of interest between the social media platform and the users and all there are some positives, obviously, but a huge amount of negatives, data profiling, ID theft, cyberbullying, persuasive misinformation. So the whole idea of Voice is, where truth has a voice is one of the quotes that's used quite a lot. So you're looking at Voice to take what we have already and to rebuild it.
Absolutely. I think you've nailed it. It is an opportunity to build something new. However, it's being done to fix problems of things that already exist. So, if we could rebuild something like Facebook from scratch, I think it would have a lot in common with Voice. Wow. Because social media has existed for some time, but it's still relatively young. I would say we're kind of in social media 2.0 right now, and we're building social media 3.0, where a lot of the lessons that we've learned, like the things you just mentioned, the insecurity around data and privacy, the lack of knowledge of where certain information comes from, or whether somebody you're talking to is a real human or not. And so we can take some of those lessons and rebuild or build a new platform that prevents those things from even being possible. So the blockchain offers us that opportunity, and that's what we're trying to do with Voice.
It's interesting. There's an Irish saying that if you ask somebody in Ireland for directions to someplace, they'd say, well, I wouldn't start from here. So the same with social media. Maybe had we a chance to go back and reimagine Facebook, we wouldn't have started from where it was. But conversely, with Voice, you are starting again. You're taking all the good bits and the bad bits. And I see in one of your letters, you call it a post-truth era. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think we can all say that today we've lost trust in social media platforms like Facebook's and even Google and Twitter, and we've also lost sense of what news is real and what news is fake. And so it's a very disjointed and confusing digital world we live in today when it comes to information and when it comes to engaging with others. So I think the loss of trust in these platforms and in these publishers as well really is a major red flag to me. I mean, the role that media and social media is meant to play is one of empowerment. It should unite us. It should make us stronger together. Instead, it's deceiving and it's dividing. And so I do believe that we're in a post-trust world and a post-truth world, really. But I don't think we need to stay there. And I think that with the opportunities that modern technologies afford us, things like blockchain, and specifically like the EOSIO blockchain, we're able to actually re-architect these platforms around an idea of transparency and accountability and fairness. And so it is, for someone that's been in this industry for so long, it really feels like a unique opportunity that I had not expected to have.
I guess if you think about it, human beings can be both untruthful and honest. And if, you know, and obviously what content comes onto a platform is projected by people, unless they're a bot, of course, but they're programmed by somebody. So there's an opportunity to appeal for integrity and respect and not fake news, so that it's possible to create a new type of platform.
Absolutely. And I think one part of it is the mindset, and the other part is um, I think people have surrendered to the fact that platforms and organizations are reading all of your personal data all the time. That news will always be now sensationalist and very political and have an agenda. These are things that I think people accept now. When you hear it anecdotally all the time. You know, aren't you concerned about Google reading your emails? Oh, everybody's reading everything. You know, and I think there's a portion of people that are resigned to those facts, but younger generations are more aware and sharper than that. I don't think that this is something that will stand over the long run, and so I'm not prepared to kind of roll over on that. And I think there are many of us that, if given an alternative and given a viable way forward, that where we don't have to accept that, I think they will join that cause.
That is a very interesting point. You're right. I have young daughters who are young adults, and I know I merely click stuff, click, accept, accept. I'm going cookies, boo, boo, I don't even look at it. And I know that they're much more, I wouldn't say fearful, but they're resentful. They don't click willy nilly. And it is, yeah, you're kind of lulled into this thing. This is the way it happens. This is the way it and doesn't have to happen this way. So with Voice, I mean, it's much promoted. It's a huge platform. Even the buying of the domain itself was many millions, and it went into beta, but only in the US in February on Valentine's Day. What's been the feedback since?
Well, when we launched the beta in February, it was focused on the technology underlying it. What we're trying to do with Voice, building a social network that can scale the way that Facebook does on a blockchain, has not really been done before. There have been attempts at decentralized social networks, and there have been attempts at doing elements of this, but the scale that we're pursuing is not something that anybody has successfully done yet. And so we wanted to really early on make sure that the underlying architecture and infrastructure can sustain what we need and will allow us to build a platform and at the speed and with the flexibility that will be required as well. The blockchain brings with it new challenges from a technology standpoint, and so it would not be prudent for us to go too far down the product development path without first kicking the tires on that. And from that standpoint, it was a great success. We've learned quite a bit about how we need to tweak that architecture to set us up for success further down the road. And so we're currently now rewriting that infrastructure almost entirely. And we will be, we have another major release coming this summer.
Wow. So you're actually rewriting most of the original platform based on the feedback from the US testers.
Absolutely. And it is both the US testers and also our own testing in the wild, the pressure testing the system, trying to build in new features or add features or change elements of the platform. And there are some areas where you run into the blockchain architecture that actually makes things that used to be very trivial significantly more complex. And so learning that the hard way was critical. So from that standpoint, we've learned a tremendous amount, and we feel the more we learn and the more we optimize, the more of a competitive advantage it also becomes, because there are few organizations who are in the position to do what we're doing.
And on that note, I should point out that on March 26th, the capital injection, 150 million US from Block One, That's a large sum of money, even in today's world. What will you spend it on?
That money will be largely spent hiring. We are building a team, and if we want to succeed at this, we need to build the best tech product organization that we can. And I think the bar is quite high. Our peers in this space, have made hiring a competitive advantage, and we seek to do the same. And so, in contrast to many of those companies, we will be based in New York. So we're staying in the social media spectrum. We're staying closer to the media side of things because we believe that content is going to be what drives this platform forward. And so we have a different talent pool that we'll be pulling from. But New York is an amazing place, and we're specifically in Brooklyn. And Brooklyn is really becoming the creative hub of New York City, and that's where a lot of the best engineers currently reside. And so we've had a lot of really good traction, and the team is coming together beautifully.
Will you partner with other content providers and platforms?
We'd love to. We're actually starting down that path. My background obviously is in media, and so those conversations very naturally developed as I took this role and as I've been settling in. So we'd love to do that, and I think there are some compelling opportunities for us.
Do you think that COVID-19 has a particular challenge or an opportunity for Voice?
Well, I think COVID-19 is a challenge for everybody, and including Voice. And we are working remotely, and we are trying to keep our um, our speed and our throughput up, and trying to grow a team and recruit and hire in this environment is really challenging. On the flip side, many of the challenges that COVID-19 has created do have silver linings. And so, we are able to, in an environment where many are shedding jobs, we are hiring, we are adding jobs, and we are doing it at we also have very compelling opportunities around it. So there is a silver lining there for us. The candidate pool is very receptive to incoming inquiries these days. And also, unfortunately, the challenges COVID-19 has presented to news organizations, especially smaller local news organizations, is incredible. And for an industry that has been on life support for some time, it has been devastating. And so we are now really turning to those organizations to see how we can help, and how maybe using the Voice platform, we can help them preserve their voice, pun intended. Because ultimately, local news really is the core of what news is all about. It's community-driven news. It is what maintains the social fabric in America. And so on a very civic level, we feel compelled to preserve it and to protect it and to amplify it. And then just from a product standpoint, there's a very natural fit for us. So we definitely hope to be able to help with those challenges as well.
Wow. You were saying that come the summer, you hope to release another version, and hopefully the rest of the world can get in there as well. And in the long term, when do you think Voice will be up and running? Do you have a vision for that?
Yeah, so our goal was for Voice to be in beta for a year. And so we would like to be out of beta by the spring of next year.
Wow. And then just to quickly talk about part of the reason why Voice, it's not only integrity of data, it's decentralized. There's a lot of, fake IDs, but there's also the monetization. People get very cross with the Facebook model where everyone produces content and then Facebook sucks it all up and sells it. So how do you see that working? Just in high level terms, how do you see that working in terms of people being respected and rewarded for good content?
Thank you for that question, Jillian. This is my favorite topic, actually, because that's the part that me as a user I find really frustrating. And I think the business model of Facebook, which you summed up quite well, which is they suck up a bunch of content for free and then they sell it. That to me is fundamentally why the platform is misaligned, because Facebook's incentivized to extract as much of our data as possible and to sell it to advertisers in as opaque way as possible. So there's no independent verification, there's no independent auditing of data and of performance. So it is very much a black box. And we think, in going back to what I said in the beginning of the call, if we were to re-architect these platforms in a way that would prevent some of the bad incentives from emerging, or from prevent the misalignment from emerging, that would be the first thing I would say. The single largest the single largest impact we could have from a reimagining of a Facebook type platform is to change it from a black box into a transparent platform. So the way that we envision doing that is by treating voice like a marketplace for attention. So instead of us being the platform that is, if you think about this in very simple terms, like analogous to just a middleman, at the end of the day, Facebook is creating reasons for people to give them their attention, and it's then selling that attention to an advertiser. However, it's not allowing those two parties to ever connect directly, and it's not sharing transparently how it's doing that to either party. Obviously, that's in your interest because you can maximize profits that way. Well, if we come at it from a different angle, we say, well, we're going to be a platform where we connect those two parties together and we facilitate that transaction happening. And we're more like eBay than we are like a department store, where our incentives are to increase the exchange of attention between parties. And so by doing that, I think we'll find users and advertisers and content creators and the platform all want the same thing, which is more attention to be exchanged. And the best way to do that is by engaging people sincerely. And so we think that's what will make voice truly different in the long run.
I think you're right. That term you use, sincerely, is key, isn't it? It's not, you're not taking blocks of users and, setting them ads, whatever, people who actually want to engage and look at stuff. Look, I am very excited about this, being a content creator, journalist, broadcaster, and someone who does use social media a lot. I can't wait for it to be in my neck of the woods. So thank you very much for your time today. And I appreciate it because you're working from home. There's kids around the place. We're all trying to, get through the lockdown. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jillian. It's been a pleasure. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Salah Zalatimo, the CEO of Voice. Thank you very much.